This video is going to get old very quickly, which is why I'm uploading it now. I'm actually recording it just gone midnight. But the stories have moved so quickly. I would expect there to be an update on this later on. G will be along with more updates as well, and I'm sure we'll update you later on this channel as well. I just want to thank everybody who's joined up to Patreon in the last couple of days. Yesterday and the day before has been, absolutely frenetic, and we've tried to upload as much as we can on every platform. And what did we do? We did 5 updates yesterday on Patreon. We had two or three videos. 3 of our updates, by the way, were exclusives as well. We broke the Fonseca news. We were the first people to talk about the 2.5-year contract, and we also said, this was on the Hammers Chat Addicts on the WhatsApp group, we also said on that Lopetegui was going to start firing hand grenades back, and that was a good hour before Guillaume Balaguer basically put out his statement on behalf of Lopetegui. So anyway, thanks for everybody that's joined us on that. We're not going to be doing updates every day on Patreon, but we'll do as much as we can. We'll be across all the news, and we've got loads of competitions, load of stuff going on over there as well. So we think it's really, really good value. So check it out. Links in the description below. Patreon.com/HammersChat, where we are at the moment with the Graham Potter situation. Is it looks like the deal is very, very close to being done. What we understand is happening is, initially the club wanted a 6-month contract. Graham Potter wanted a 2.5-year contract. There's been negotiations basically over the past 48 hours. So we're into you watch it this morning, we're into the 3rd day of really proper negotiations. They've been meeting with one another and almost toying with it for a little while. But the club absolutely made the decision after the Liverpool game, it seems, to replace Julen Lopetegui, which is why they interviewed on Friday. They interviewed Paulo Fonseca. So that's actually Friday is before the Manchester City game. So some people are asking, were they just doing that to try and flush out negotiations with Potter? It wasn't that at all. The proper negotiations started with Potter. Realistically, the proper ones on Monday. So that had already happened the weekend before that. But my point is, the club got really serious about replacing Lopetegui after the Liverpool game. Which is look, I've got into it yesterday where I think Lopetegui should have been let go. I think they've not handled this correctly at all. It's pointless me going over old ground again. I just really, for me to give you an update on what's going on now as we understand things. Potter is very, very close to reaching an agreement with West Ham. They came to a compromise, and I think actually it's probably quite good negotiating by West Ham on this. Just put aside at the moment whether you want Potter or whether you don't. Just accept that some people at West Ham do want Potter. So they wanted to give him a 6-month deal. He wanted a 2.5-year deal. Basically, they've ended up giving him a 6-month deal dressed up as a 2.5-year deal. If he meets certain criteria, and we don't know what they are as yet. Some people are speculating that it's qualifying for Europe. Some speculating it's a cup run. Some speculating it's a certain league position. But whatever the criteria are, whatever the club have said, if you do X, Y and Z, whatever they are, once he reaches those, Potter will then initiate, at the end of the season, a 2-year deal. So 2.5 years, it's this season, then the next 2 full seasons. But he has to do well this season. I don't know what the metric is or what the measurement is for him to do well. I don't know. Is it going? I don't know. I mean, listen, we'll find out soon enough. Is it a top half finish? You'd expect not, but I quite like it from both points of view. It means if he's crap, then we don't have to hire him. But it also means, I think, it means Potter is very, very confident in his own ability. To be fair, I've always thought he was confident in his own ability, and if he does a good job, then he keeps the role. And to be honest with you, if he does a good job, I don't mind him keeping the role. My own opinion, hopefully you watched the cup of tea that myself and Gio did last night. If I'll assume you did, so I'll skim over this really, really quickly. I think Potter did well to take over Brighton, who are a relegation team, from Chris Hughton, and change the style of football and turn them from relegation team into mid-table team. That's what I think he did. He did really well. That's what I think is the most impressive thing on his CV. I just hope West Ham know what they're getting in that. If what he's going to do is take West Ham and turn us from, realistically, wherever we are now, 13th, whatever it is, and take us from 13th and into Europe, then that's a different skill set. I'm not sure. We don't know if he's capable of that yet. Obviously, I would hope that he is. The style of football, that's something that can only really be encouraged. And I think once he's appointed, I'll certainly get very much behind the appointment. Particularly if I don't want to talk about it too much now because we'll have lots of time to talk about this. But what he did, I alluded to this on the cup of tea with Gio last night. What he did with Lewis Dunk at centre back at Brighton, I would be quite excited by something like that. He could do that with Kilman or Todibo, possibly even both. There's been people saying we haven't really got Graham Potter type players. To be fair, it wouldn't take much of a tweak for us to have Graham Potter type players. You'd only be removing, I feel, 2 or 3. It would only take a swapping, a changing of 2 or 3 for us to have a team that could be able to pass the ball around really well. Anyway, so that's that. That's obviously where we are with it. He's expected to sign the deal at some point today, quite possibly, which is why I think this video will get old really quickly. Whether that means Lopetegui will be spared the humiliation and the embarrassment of doing the Aston Villa press conference, I don't know. I certainly hope so. They could delay it. It was actually scheduled for 1 p.m. today, Wednesday. They might delay it so as not to put him through that. That really, it's been pretty indecent so far. It would be the decent thing now to not let Lopetegui do that. I mentioned in a cup of tea yesterday, and also spoke about it more in depth on Patreon when I did my video update on Patreon yesterday, that there will be a lot coming out from Lopetegui. He will be spilling the beans on his perception of what he thinks has happened at West Ham, and I think particularly Tim Steidten will be in his crosshairs for that one. But again, we'll deal with that another time. I was meant to release a different video today. It was about Dan Ashworth. It's about the director of football. It was a whole load of stuff. And I just think there's just no point now, because even what I said 24 hours ago when I recorded it, it was probably less than that. But, in fact, it was. At the point I'm recording this, I probably recorded that about, sort of basically lunchtime Tuesday. It'd be so old, so there's not point in it. But more or less, I was saying, look, if he's only on a 6-month deal, it's pointless appointing Dan Ashworth. But what I do think would be very, very good here is if by appointing Potter, we get Dan Ashworth. I think that'd be a really good thing. But what I did make a point in my video is that, excuse me, and I've had to do my research on this. I didn't know. I'm not going to claim to have known loads about Dan Ashworth, but I went and done my research on this. And one of the reasons he sort of failed at, one of the reasons that Manchester United got rid of him pretty damn quickly was because he is not he's not a spotter. He's not an identifier of talent. That's not what he does. Dan Ashworth builds an infrastructure at the club. And I listened to a podcast yesterday, and I listened to there was a conversation on TalkSport after he got jettisoned by Manchester United. They were talking about Jason Wilcox. They were talking about lots of different things there. Dan Ashworth is not a talent spotter. Tim Steidten is a talent spotter. That's what he does. Ashworth is not. Ashworth builds the infrastructure at the club. I remember doing a video about 3 years ago about the progress that Brighton were making. Funny enough, Potter was manager at the time, and they'd built this big data analytics centre. They built a big coaching centre. You sort of got the impression that they basically had a building that was dedicated to this stuff. All that stuff was overseen by Ashworth. He helped build the infrastructure under the guidance of Tony Bloom, and there were some other people obviously involved in that at Brighton. They were very, very well, just very well prepared. It was a very well thought out structure, and they knew what they were doing. Absolutely, they had a real vision, a clarity of vision. The main recruiter was somebody else, and I believe he's at Chelsea. His name escapes me. He's at Chelsea at the moment. If we got Ashworth in, that would signify that we were going to do a full rebuild. What you don't do is you don't get Ashworth in to highlight who the next upcoming youngster is in the Belgian league or in South America or something like that. It's not really what he does. He appoints the guys that do that. At the moment, I mean, we're on... It's not particularly good at West Ham at the moment, particularly when you look at some of the other clubs. Aston Villa's a great case in point. Data analysts at Aston Villa at the moment, I'm sort of going off on a tangent, but this is what I discussed on my video that I just won't publish now. They've got over 20 data analysts. At the moment, West Ham, well, we have, what was his name, Maximilian Hans, who Tim Steidten appointed, and Lopetegui's got one who's based over in Seville. It would be unfair to the name scouting, coaching, data analytics department to compare what West Ham have with what Aston Villa have or what Brighton have. They really do have departments. We've got a geezer in a room and a computer, and it's stuff like that. If Dan Ashworth came in, he would build that sort of infrastructure. We don't have that. So my point is, if by getting Potter we also get a whole infrastructure off the back of it, because Potter insists on all these people coming in, then that would have been a really, really good thing. But I am not convinced, because of what's happened with Steidten, because of what's happened with Husilos, that David Sullivan is ready to go down that route of relinquishing power and giving all of that stuff to somebody else. And nothing I've seen or heard from within the club in the last 2 or 3 days has led me to think that that's something that would happen. It's been a real mess over the last few days, actually. It has to be said. And I mentioned it on a cup of tea last night, that I thought we were very reactive in almost everything that we have done. Some stuff's turned out to be true, some stuff's turned out to be false. We'll deal with the fallout of that over the next few days. What will also have to be really factored in with this appointment, when we're appointing Potter, is somebody, and I've got it on good advice. It's more than one person, by the way, thought it was a good idea to appoint Julen Lopetegui, and clearly whoever did that has got it very, very wrong. And West Ham need to make sure they don't do that again. That's for later down the line, but I certainly do believe that that should be looked at where and how that got wrong, because it's been brought to my attention that the club were absolutely advised by a few people that that would not be a good appointment, that the appointment would not go well, that Lopetegui was not a good fit for West Ham. And there were definitely 2 or 3 people really pushing for the appointment, but there was definitely pushback from other areas. But it's like I've been saying in the last few days, we do have a fragmented club. There's different ideas. Too many. Can you have too many ideas? I guess you can if you have indecision. If the ultimate person, if you have at the very top indecision and the ultimate decision doesn't get made, then I guess you can have too many ideas. Anyway, there you go. It does look like we've settled on Potter. As I informed you yesterday, as I said on Patreon, that the Everton stuff was a no-go from the start. And I don't know. It seemed convenient at the time. Maybe Potter's people were using that as a deflection to hurry up West Ham. To be fair to them, and whilst I've got lots to criticise West Ham for, as I've just done, I think for them to come out, I think they were right. They were right here. Potter's got to earn this deal. If he wants a long-term West Ham contract, he's going to have to earn it. I don't blame him for asking for that, but there's certainly been a number of coaches who were happy to take the West Ham job on a 6-month deal. Potter, it looks like it. I guess it's one of those situations where both feel they win. Potter probably feels he's got his 2.5-year deal. West Ham probably feel that they got their 6-month deal. So it's going to be interesting. Can't wait for it to be over, because then I will start to get. I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to change my tune. I can't sit here for since Lopetegui got appointed, and even before, start telling you I wanted Iraola and I wanted Silva or De Zerbi. I can't say that and then suddenly start saying, oh yeah, no, I really wanted Potter. I'm not going to do that. All right. So what it will allow me to do is start, once it's done, accept that he's been appointed, then start looking for reasons to be hopeful, reasons to get not excited, but start to hopefully look forward. My reservation with Potter, and I say this now, and I've said it before, is I think you've got to be. They're so fragmented, the club at the moment. There's so many dissenting voices, should I say, that you've got to be a real strong character to survive at West Ham. Really strong. That's what I think David Moyes did as well as he did for so long. And I've not seen anything in Potter that tells me he's that. I think you need a little bit of a mean streak, a little bit of a selfish streak. I've been speaking about Tim Steidten on this channel for longer than I care to mention. But as I said a little while ago, before all this Lopetegui Steidten stuff came out, I said about Steidten, I said the next manager probably needs to be sleeping one eye open. And just because you have seen Steidten sat down smiling in front of a Potter doesn't mean anything. I can show you pictures of him stood next to smiling Lopetegui. I can show you pictures of Tim Steidten stood pitch side smiling and having a joke with David Moyes. What the future holds for Steidten, I don't know. I'm still very, very uncertain that. But seeing him play his part in negotiations, which he undoubtedly has done, and he was even in negotiations for Fonseca as well, leads me to believe he's more involved in the club than I thought. I thought he was further out the door than he actually is. He certainly had his wings clipped in terms of player recruitment, but he's still recommending players. And it takes me back to what I was told when I did the video. Monday, when I said that. Honestly, it's been such a crazy few days. When I said on Monday that the next manager, that basically Lopetegui didn't have 3 games in charge, he wouldn't even be here managing before the for the Fulham game. The same source who gave me that information, as I mentioned in the video, if you go back and check, I actually said then, even though Steidten was under pressure, I was told Lopetegui will be out the door before Steidten is. And it's actually proven, to be fair, everything that I was told in that conversation has been proven to be absolutely accurate, and particularly from both people that I spoke to on that day. So, Steidten is a little bit more involved than we've been led to believe. He's not quite as far out the door as we thought, but he's going to need to make this work. You can't fall out with David Moyes, fall out with Lopetegui, then fall out with the next guy as well, because it's just, even I've had people saying to me on videos, on the comments, saying, "Oh, I don't know. It was just Moyes is difficult, Lopetegui is difficult." I do think, by the way, that Lopetegui is difficult. I'm not suggesting he's not. I think, okay, look, the evidence is that Steidten's a difficult one here. There's one common denominator, but if it happens a third time, there's surely no arguments at all. As I say, the what's it's going to hit the fan once Lopetegui goes, so you, be braced for that. Anyway, right. 17 minutes. There you go. Honestly, this video might just be a fart in the wind by the time I'm finished. I'm sure we'll be back later on saying Lopetegui is bit. We won't go in that order, will it? It won't be Lopetegui's, it won't be Potter's announced as manager. It'll be Lopetegui is. You know what the club are going to say. It'll be that piece of media spin. The club regret to announce the departure of Julen Lopetegui. Everybody at West Ham would like to thank Lopetegui and his coaching staff for the fine work he's done at West Ham. But it'll be like that, won't it? I wonder what it'd be like if you actually saw an honest one one time. But that'll be that. Would they? Will they sack Lopetegui and appoint Graham Potter in the same day? Yeah, you bet they will.